Hello, everyone. Somehow the Star Stuff podcast survived. My name is David.
I'm Colin. Like I didn't know we were under attack.
And I'm James, and I knew we were under attack, so that's what makes it
Oh.
serious. I'm just
And for I must have missed something. Are we blind? Deploy the garrison.
oh,
This is
man.
where we talk all stuff Star Wars.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's been a while since the three of us have recorded.
Of the OGs.
I'm glad the three of us are doing
Mm.
this today. Colin just woke up.
I did. Long day, bro. Long day.
If it makes you feel any better, I woke up like at 9 and just kind of lounged about. That was my Sunday. Today.
I work on Sundays, so not me at all. But anyways,
So David, you got us some topics to talk about today.
yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe?
Yeah, I do.
So how was your day? Like we just talked about each
So-
other's days.
I didn't just wake up, but I didn't go to sleep till probably like 3 or 4 because our
Oof.
Chihuahua kept on barking because we had crazy thunderstorms in South Texas.
Ooh.
Just lightning and thunder. Yeah, it seemed like Thor was outside my window just cracking it. It's great, but my dog just kept on barking and barking. And it's like, so
Well,
yeah.
that and you probably couldn't sleep because you're so excited for the month of March next year. I mean, check out all that stuff happening in March. My goodness, you've got Mando season 3, you've got the end of Bad Batch, and then you've got Jedi Survivor, all happening in the same month. That's a
amazing.
huge month for Star Wars.
And
So,
then celebrations in April.
I know.
Huge.
I know. So I am
Bigly.
I'm so excited. Like this is I know every year I say it's the year of Star Wars, but this year is the year of Star Wars.
I'm telling you, man, this is the year of Star Wars.
This is the year of Star Wars.
And then next year will be the real year of Star Wars.
I am-
2023.
Oh man, I'm just curious of what 2024 will be like for Star Wars because we've got a lot going on. So I know I know we're jumping ahead and everything, but we've got Andor season 2 for sure. Do you think our Avengers type event will be happening in that year, or do you think they'll wait until like next year? Because we know like all these shows are leading up to something, right? So you've got Mando, Ahsoka, the Skeleton Crew apparently, which that's crossing over with Ahsoka is the rumor. So it's like there will be a lot of like things happening, and it just makes sense that they're leading up to an Avengers type event. That's why they would have these shows cross over. Normally, when these shows cross over like this, they're leading up to something big, some type of crossover fight. So it would just make sense that they were.
And then plus, we've been talking about this for a few years. And plus they introducing the character Thrawn, having Ahsoka mention Thrawn, having, Ezra going to be there in Ahsoka. It only makes sense for there to be an Avengers type big meetup somewhere in the future. 2024 could be that year. We don't know yet because next year we're getting, of course, Mando, Bad Batch. Are we also going to be getting the Acolyte?
Yes,
Yes,
and that's also coming out next year too.
That doesn't matter. I mean, that's not gonna cross over because of the time.
No, that is taking place at the end of the High Republic.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, and then Ahsoka is Ahsoka dropping next year as well.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So there we go. So now we're gonna be tying in all these little things. So 2024 could be the moment. Even beginning of 2025 could be that big push for something pretty great.
Well, if that happens, then that's just going to be the year of like big.
That will be the year of Star Wars because
yes, that will be the year of Star Wars. But also, that will be a huge year for Marvel as well because that's when Kang Dynasty is coming out. Is 2025, and then 2026 is Secret Wars. I can see the gears like turning in David's brain.
Is that true, David?
Yes, it's true. But before we get any deeper,
okay. Sorry. We just started talking. Sorry, guys.
I do want to talk about all of our awesome Patreon supporters.
Yeah.
On the purple tier, we have Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, and Zach Netzel. On the red tier, we have Fenrir526, Maya Morris. On the black tier, we have Mecca Tautala, Nathan Shank, Evan Opaker, and of course, listening, watching, commenting right now, we have Liam McCallion.
Liam.
So thank you very much, guys. We love all y'all.
Yes, we do.
You contribute massively to the podcast. You help us buy microphones, equipment, etc., to enable us to experience Star Wars, share it with you guys, and thank you so much. Can't say thank you enough. So
yeah,
we can continue on with Star Wars talk now.
With our nerd talk. Okay. Before we go on, I haven't been on since I haven't talked about the last episode of Andor season 12. I haven't been on here. I've just been kind of bottling it up. And since what?
No, I'm just like, where have you been?
I've been very, very busy. So yeah, Andor episode 12 dropped, and some people are calling it one of the best shows of the year. I know the people's was it the People's Choice, the Critics' Choice, already nominated it for. Oh, hey Matt, how you doing? Matt's here joining us. But yeah, Critics' Choice, they already nominated for best show of the year, as well as Diego Luna got a nomination for best actor. So was Andor a success for all of you, or did y'all have like kind of reservations about it?
It was a slow beginning. It was definitely a slow beginning. I know that's how a lot of us felt at first, but honestly, as soon as it hit that 4th episode, it picked up and it was phenomenal. And leading up to the very last episode, I was blown away. I was excited. I cried. I think even during Marva's speech, like, it was phenomenal. It was written so well. So I'm excited for season 2, which they're filming which they are filming right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Matt, what did you think of Andor?
I concur with Colin's assessment thus far. I think that the way that it got started was a little slow. I think that it very far branches out from the norm of Star Wars that we're used to. And for a lot of the Star Wars universe, we know very well that branching outside of the original Star Wars is always going to be a little bit of a gamble. So there's always the Star Wars fan base. Some of them may disagree with it, but I think it is a kind of a cinematic marvel of its own design. I think that a lot of the ideas, concepts, and plots that are in Andor are something that we've never seen in Star Wars before. And I think that we are pushing the boundaries of what the Star Wars universe is capable of. I think that in the hands of Disney, Star Wars to a place that we never thought it would go to, and excited to see what season 2 has to offer. I love the cinematic value. I love the plot. I love the character integrity. I love venturing to new places and exploring new things that we've never seen in Star Wars before. So I think that there is a bright future in Andor, and anyone who says they don't like Andor is A, entitled to their opinion, and B, I think that they are just stuck inside the scope of the Star Wars that they're used to.
Yeah,
what's happening?
No, your connection's a little was a little laggy there, but no, we got you though. We got you.
Okay, cool.
David, what did you think of Andor?
I agree with Mob Rules here. Andor was amazing. But for me, that moment in time when it debuted alongside of a few other series that I was really anticipating highly, and The Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, She-Hulk. So there was a span of time, I think there was a month where all those shows were premiering new episodes, and it was like must-see TV for me. I really loved all of them. I just didn't like the show length for Andor. I thought it was too short. I didn't like the fact that another franchise that kind of copied Star Wars in a way, I think, and that they had an after show for each episode for House of the Dragon. We didn't get anything like that for Andor. We didn't get like a preview for the next episode. I know each episode is about 30 minutes long, but I mean, just cutting off like a black screen at the very end of every episode, and it's like, okay, well, they gave us nothing else. It was just a bunch of speculation. And stuff that we pulled from the trailers that we got. But yeah, the show length bothered me. The lack of an after show, I thought that was something that would have maybe improved the popularity of the series. And of course, later on, they launched the first 2 episodes of Andor on different platforms on cable TV, and Andor shouldn't have had to do that. It should have been kind of a hit once it hit the ground running and airing these episodes. And I do see the points of a lot of people saying that, okay, well, it's not Star Wars, and it's something different, and it's kind of like that thing where there's so many people that are fans of Star Wars and have opinions of Star Wars. You're never going to satisfy everyone in that way. I mean, you hear all the complaints, it needs to be more like Star Wars, and then you hear people say it shouldn't be. It should be something brand new, and that's what we started hearing right after The Force Awakens, and we got something brand new, and still there's a huge vocal minority apparently that happened with that whole thing. But overall, I think it was like a healthy addition to Star Wars, and that we got this type of show with someone who had experience in Star Wars but wasn't necessarily a true fan of Star Wars, that I think has become over time a fan of Star Wars and a fan of the material. So it's kind of one of those weird things with Andor for me. It's like I anticipated it every week. I love what they did. I just wish the fans and the general public would have received it a whole lot better than they did, and that's what kind of disturbs me when I think that something should get more praise, and it is getting praise through awards and nominations. So Andor season 2 is probably going to be way better, I think, in my opinion. Compared to season 1, because I think we're going to get more connective tissue. We're probably going to get Krennic and Tarkin, possibly. Of course, K2SO's confirmed to show back up, so that should be really, really good. So, and the finale was awesome. That Marva hologram, I'll never forget that, man. And then like all the kind of talk about what she was supposed to say and the whole speech, fight the Empire. I mean, it was very, very moving to see something like that at a funeral, and to see that end episode kind of transpire the way it did.
No, I agree. And one of my buddies, she pointed out to me, she said you can actually see her mouth say the word. And if you look, you can see it. You can see her lips not saying fight. So I just want to put that out there. That it's there. For me, watching Andor was, I know this is a weird comparison, but do you remember back in 2005 when Batman Begins came out, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is a Batman movie and it's this good? There's no way, because for me, Batman had always been like one of my favorite superheroes ever, and it was an amazing feeling watching Batman Begins. That's how I felt with Andor, where I was like, I love Star Wars, I love all the Star Wars movies, and the whole time I'm like, this is insane that this show was this good, and it happens just to be in Star Wars as well. I thought it was just an amazing experience the whole way through. I saw a guy, he did a video essay about it, and it was one of the things that I was like, yeah, that's why it felt different. He said one of the reasons Andor feels different from everything
because there's bricks and screws, right?
Because there's bricks and screws. No, I'm just kidding. But well, no, it's all about
jeez.
How they
wow.
It was about how they utilize.
There's no bricks in this. No.
Visual effects in Andor, and how the perspective of the surrounding world is what really made it feel real. And they said, look at the opening shot of Obi-Wan Kenobi, where you see the visual effects shot, and then the camera pans down, and then you see them, the younglings doing their Jedi training, and you can really tell visual effects are there, real set is here, and here we go. With Andor, they literally did the opposite, and just doing that little switch made everything feel so real. And I thought that was an interesting way. Like when you first see Andor, you see it from his perspective low, and then they cut to wide, and then they fill in everything with visual effects. But just that little switch made it feel so much more realistic. And even with I forgot what her name was, but the one who she like went underground to talk to the cousin, and like she like walked around Coruscant and went down below, and like kind of in like the tunnels of Coruscant. The one who worked with Luthen, I forgot what her name was. But yeah, even those scenes with her walking, and then you see like this is a practical set, and then you can just tell where the visual effects filled in the rest of it behind them. And I don't know, for me, those little things made this show feel so great and feel so realistic. And like I said, it was well written, and it was Star Wars, and I thought it was amazing. And looking forward to season 2. And I hope they get a lot of nominations here at Emmys and Golden Globes and everything like that, because I think it deserves it.
Yeah. Apparently they are. I believe there was a like one of the. It wasn't like the Emmys or anything, but it was another type of award show that kind of concentrated, I think, primarily on like science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I mean, that's science fiction, fantasy. Of course, you figure Andor is going to get those types of nominations. But there's another award show where it was like kind of across the board, and Andor did get pretty much nominated with everyone else. And I saw like the categories. Diego Luna was up against like some like pretty like dramatic, like heavy hitters, you know. So yeah, I think they're gonna do okay as far as award season goes. But yeah, I'm really hyped for season 2. I think that Tony Gilroy and his crew have figured out a particular formula, and hopefully being on streaming, fans can watch that haven't watched, and all the people that said that they were going to just binge watch it when it was all going to drop. Hopefully they've done that, or going to do that over Christmas break, and kind of realize that, hey, look, yeah, this is pretty awesome. The writing's terrific.
Yeah.
Character development is awesome, and maybe that will kind of like raise the numbers for it. Maybe you might see a spike or something.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, I think it will, and especially for next season, if we don't get some type of Max Rebo cameo, like I would be very, very surprised. Because it's like, no, I'm just kidding. No, but no, but I think that this show it definitely threw people off, because it wasn't what people were expecting, and that's exactly what the show, The Acolyte's, going to be like as well. And the reason why is because it's also the person that came out and that is like actually writing it also said they're not a big Star Wars fan as well.
Nice. Weird. That's weird.
Well, right. But now we're dealing with some of the like of the heart and soul of Star Wars, which is, you know, the Force, Jedi, Sith. And now you're kind of dealing with that lore that has been engrounded in Star Wars since the very, very beginning. So now we're kind of getting into that kind of like very deep waters of what Rian Johnson was kind of doing with The Last Jedi, where he was kind of changing things left and right. Every time it's not a bad thing. It's not always a bad thing. But when you're dealing with something as mainstream as that, you have to be careful. So I'm really curious in how they'll deal with that.
That's a great point right there.
They don't have a sand planet.
Adding to what Colin just said, Andor did not have a sand planet either. So that,
well, if you think about it, when people walk around and there's this thing called soil, and
now you sound like somebody else that we don't want to talk about right now. You sound like somebody else that would be talking this type of mess right now.
No. I think it will. Oh man, I think next season is just going to blow people away. I think Acolyte will blow people away. From all the stuff that we know about, it looks fantastic. It looks great. It's also when the Jedi Order is in its prime. Now, I know George Lucas said that back when they were doing Attack of the Clones and we saw them fighting in the arena and everything. But now this is the actual prime of the Jedi. This is when the Jedi Order is established. There's no real conflict just yet with the Sith and everything that happened in the Old Republic, that happened in the old days. And now we're at the end of it. Now we're going to fall into the timeline of the Phantom Menace. So there's a chance that we'll see Plagueis. We'll see more corruption happen in the Senate, most likely. More corruption happen within the Jedi Order. Now, I'm thinking that maybe the Sith infiltrate the Jedi, and that's when you start seeing the corruption from different Jedi and from the Senate, kind of, taking advantage of the system. And then that's when people kind of lose the way of the Jedi, and then they, of the High Republic era Jedi ways, and then they start going into their own thing. Because I just don't think it would just be like everyone just being like, all right, I'm going to do my own thing. I think someone did something. Someone influenced someone to change everything. And I think we're going to see that in this show.
And it was the Acolyte the whole time.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
But
That's
but no,
Jar Jar Binks.
it was him the whole time. So I know, David, you had stuff for us to talk about, and we kind of just went on another Star Wars rant.
It's Star Wars stuff, James. Do not apologize for the title.
All right, so David, what you had some good topics.
Okay, yeah, I had some stuff
Hit it.
to talk about. So, Patty Jenkins,
Uh-oh,
she's
here we go.
been
Oh,
in the
yeah.
news a whole lot lately.
Mhm.
We all know that she directed Wonder Woman, which was a huge hit box
Mhm.
office wise.
Oh, the first one, yeah.
For me personally, I thought the film was okay. I didn't come away thinking, okay, well, I want this person to direct Star Wars films or anything. But we all know she got the job to direct Rogue Squadron, and this was the announcement. This is a screenshot taken from the actual announcement that happened, I guess, in 2019, 2020.
Yep.
So this happened, which was like totally out of left field. No one knew about it. There's no rumors about this and nothing. This kind of shocked everyone. So apparently there is, I believe it came from Jeff Snyder, who's a Hollywood insider who reports on rumors and has like sources and stuff. He's been doing it for years and years. He actually said on a podcast a couple different things in regards to the situation that the Rogue Squadron script was in. And I'm about to read what his quote was. He said, "I've heard some things about Patty Jenkins. I heard she's a nightmare. I get it. I hate to be the guy calling a woman a nightmare, but my God, I've said that about countless male directors. So, like, I've heard that the Wonder Woman 3 script she turned in was a mess. I heard the Star Wars thing, Rogue Squadron, was a mess as well. Like, what do you want from me?" He says. This is from Jeff Snyder. So,
Oof. That's a hot
Yeah.
mic right there.
That's harsh. That is a harsh thing to say about. And
I like that you censored that comment too. That was cool.
but and yeah, there's been reports that she is a little difficult to work with, and it's really weird because I personally thought the first Wonder Woman was a pretty good movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very entertaining, dramatic action film and so when the second one came out, the credits are in before the movie and it's produced by Patty Jenkins. Screenplay, she co-wrote the script to this movie, so you could tell Warner Brothers gave her a lot more creative control over this movie. And it starts and you're just kind of like, oh, this is not as good.
Yeah.
And then toward the end of the movie, you're like, this is a bad movie. Like it was not a good, it felt, I didn't think I was going to feel that until I saw Thor Love and Thunder. You know what I mean? Where
Wait,
it
so
starts and you're
we're
like,
talking
oh,
about the second one, right?
yeah, the second.
Yeah.
Wonder
So
Woman.
to me, I think the best thing about that movie was Pedro Pascal and
just chewing scenery.
yeah, because I was just like, I was disappointed. I was I and also I don't know if you guys remember this, but when I watched it, that night that I was watching it, I'm not sure if I told you guys that this happened when I was watching it, but that night we actually got a DM from Rosario Dawson. That like night I sent a message to you guys.
Right,
Was that same night I was watching that movie. So I think that experience like actually made it better for me. Yeah. but yeah, no, that was super that was super funny timing. But the fact that that's not the only project that's been canceled, like that was announced back then, because there was also Rangers of the New Republic and everything that happened with that as well. and we still don't know anything about Droid story at all. Like, we know it's
Yeah,
shot
that's
and everything
been-
apparently.
Like radio
But-
silence.
Yeah, but that's kind of off the radar. So maybe that might be another show that comes out next year. That might be like very similar to a Tales of a Jedi situation. You know, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, but they really haven't talked about that either. So
Liam said, "I don't understand the need for directors to write the scripts." I mean, yeah, but it's good when you have. Sorry, my dog is back there going to town. She's having fun. Anyway,
Not going to town.
no, she's rolling around and everything back there. Whatchamacallit? No, I mean, like, if you have a director who can also write it, they know what they're looking for. They know what they're doing. And so, like, even George Lucas, who wrote and directed the first Star Wars movie, like, he knew what he was doing because he wrote the script. He knew how it was supposed to look and everything. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's whenever you see produced, directed, and written by, edited by, you start to kind of go, okay, like, this guy has a lot of control. Unless you're James Cameron, then I think you can do whatever you want. unless you're James Cameron and Alfonso Cuarón, you can write, produce, direct, and edit your own movies, and everybody's got to be okay with it. But some directors, it's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have that much power. And yeah, now we know that Warner Brothers ultimately canned Wonder Woman 3, so that's done. And a lot of people think Rogue Squadron disappeared because of Wonder Woman 2. So it's really strange. It's really strange what's happening right now, and I think that's really weird. I know David and I touched on this with one of our Patreon episodes. Was it's weird how a director's project can completely destroy their next project. Like we've seen that with Josh Trank with Fantastic Four, Benioff and Weiss, Game of Thrones, and
Colin Trevorrow
with the Book of Henry, and we might see it now with Taika Waititi and Thor: Love and Thunder. Like, it's really shocking the amount of respect he lost because of that movie. Like, it was
stock totally dropped, man.
I have never seen that happen to a director before, like that dramatically.
So to me, I think what happened was he tried making the same. He like tried all the same techniques that he did with Ragnarok. And I don't think when you're making a movie that you can do the same things and expect the same result. And to me, that's why the movie didn't go so well, because they did a lot of improv for Love and Thunder as well.
Yeah.
And as great as improv is, it shouldn't be your main go-to thing. I think a script is there for a reason. I think actual written out, full out scenes is what makes a lot of movies great. So I don't mind improv. Like I really don't mind it. But I think if you're going into that into a movie, making that your main technique for the first movie is great, but then going in and doing that for the second one as well, hoping the same love that you got for that. I just don't think that's the best way to go around and make a film series. Again, I'm not in that business, but like I just think that you've got to have some type of angle of going in, because I just remember sitting there and being like, really?
It was
that. Yeah, I was like, really? Come on.
Yeah, it was bad. It was a bad movie, and like David said, his stock dropped like to the point where I don't even want to watch another Taika. Like they were talking about our Flag Means Death season 2, and I'm like, I don't even want to watch that anymore. Like,
wow, like it put that much of a taste in your mouth.
Yes,
like, of where was that bad?
Because it felt. I know this is getting weird, but it felt like Taika didn't care. Like it's like he did not care about any. He was just like, oh, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. No one can tell me what to do, and I don't care what anybody says.
It's so funny that you're saying this. I'm so sorry, because that's exactly how I felt with like Rian Johnson. I'm sorry, James, but that's exactly how I felt with The Last Jedi. So it's so funny that you're saying all this.
I
It
just
all
don't.
comes back to the Last Jedi.
It all comes back to Last Jedi. Did you see Ryan Johnson he was on the Smart List podcast, and they did talk about Star Wars, and it was interesting to hear his perspective of how he wrote the script and why he wrote the script the way he did, and to hear like he said it was all super secret. Like it was like, here, you can come in this room and read the script, and then now go write your version. Now go write your script based off of what this script was. And that's what he did. And then so it's just really funny. Colin versus Taika all day. So
no, I saw that comment
but
too.
one thing I love that they asked him was, they said, how was it working with John Williams? And he said he went to every recording, and he said you just kind of sit back and let John Williams do his thing. Just let him. And they said, and the dude hand writes all the notes. Like he does every single thing by hand. And I just think and he said he went into John Williams' office, and he goes and you just see these thick folders, thick binders, and you see like Indiana Jones, you see Jaws, you see Saving Private Ryan. This is all his script, all his scores are written by hand. I was like, that's so freaking cool.
I really hope soon that he releases maybe some of the songs that like he wrote for different movies, but that never made it to the public or the big screen. I would love that.
That would be an interesting
Some
thing.
Deep cut John Williams. Yeah.
That would be the dream. Because I think I listen to John Williams every day, and I'm not.
Yeah,
just
we
talking
saw
about,
your Spotify on your Instagram. We know you listen to a lot of John Williams. Okay, all right.
I am not just talking about like in general for what I do, but I actually sit down and listen to it like every single day. So it's I think that to me that was probably one of the best things of The Last Jedi. But going back to the situation with Taika, I think maybe that might be why too, that he hasn't been doing anything with his Star Wars movie like at all, because of the backlash that he got with Love and Thunder. And I think maybe that's why Kathleen Kennedy I think she got scolded at for like announcing projects way far in advance, because now honestly, do you guys think that's gonna come out? Do you think his movie's gonna happen, or do you think it's gonna be pushed to the side like all these other projects? David?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's not going to happen anymore. I think it's going to go the way of what Ryan Johnson and whoever else. I can't even keep track of all the directors now, but it seems like Lucasfilm has decided to maybe try to initiate a plan now. And there's a story that came out about Kathleen Kennedy having 2025, 26, 27 mapped out. And that might be, I know we talk about it all the time and a lot of people hope for it, but that might be when Kathleen Kennedy actually bows out and actually retires. So for her to have a plan for those 3 years and actually see like Sean Levy and Damon Lindelof drop their films and actually get something cohesive. And of course, what James brought up earlier, we haven't heard anything about the climactic, or I think you brought it up, Colin, the climactic event for the Disney Plus series. Of course, we haven't got Mando season 3. Mando season 4 is already shooting. So it's a weird thing. I think even before Love and Thunder, I think Taika's stock was kind of dropping a little bit because he had so many projects. And this is the thing that I say all the time on the podcast. Lucasfilm needs to find those creatives that don't have a full plate already and start juggling plates. Find someone like Ryan Coogler from 10 years ago who made a great independent film, who's clearly talented. Bring him in, have him focus on Star Wars. Take some time, have someone that maybe needs some time to develop a script, do the script, do the story, send it to the story group, second check it, make sure it's all canon, and then drop it. And I think that's what they need to focus on. I don't think until Kathleen Kennedy leaves, we're not going to get that. I think she's still on the whole thing of, well, we need a name tied to the next Star Wars project. And unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it is. And if you put yourself in her shoes, you would be scared too if some kid shows up who has like one movie and is like, I have a Star Wars pitch and it's great, you love it, but it's a no-name guy or girl. And
she kind of did that with Gareth Edwards. Gareth Edwards had like one movie plus Godzilla, which was a huge hit.
That could be the catalyst for all this.
And see, that's what I'm saying. Gareth. That may have been her going like, okay, I can't do that anymore. I can't hire somebody like that who's going to come in here. And what's crazy is there's still interviews with Tony Gilroy, and the more he talks about Rogue One and the state it was in, it is just terrifying to think that it was that bad. He said it got to the point where while they were editing the movie, somebody even asked who directed this. Like they even had to ask, like, are your name is going to be the director, right? And he said no. But he said he said I didn't have to fight for a screenplay credit. He goes, because they immediately were like, yeah, you rewrote this entire movie. But they said there was a point where everybody was wondering if his name was going to be on the movie as director instead of Gareth Edwards. So yeah, you got to think like maybe she was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And plus she hired Lord Miller for Solo. Look how that was going. And so yeah, it's kind of
those guys were names. They already had huge success. So that's like kind of on the flip side of Gareth. So she's had both experiences now. So I guess she's just trying to maybe play it safe and trying to get the names. And I don't know.
I think for her, that's the best thing to do. And but we don't like that because, like you said, David, we want somebody who's going to be focused 100% on Star Wars. We want somebody who's going to come in.
And she has said it now publicly. We want someone that's going to invest 10 years of their career into Star Wars and just focus on Star Wars. But she keeps on hiring the people that have all the stuff that's going on.
Exactly. And it's, I really hope very soon we get that, like, oh, hey, this person's going to be here. And what's funny is they did ask Rian Johnson in that podcast about the next part. And he kind of was like, just went right over the question. Like, he's like, I'm not going to answer this question. Because I don't know. I wonder. He says, well, I mean, what he always says is, I want it to happen. That's what he always says. He really wants it to happen.
Yeah, and he also said that he's fallen more in love with Star Wars since then.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay,
I know,
it's like
right?
he's really filthy rich now, so now he can actually do. It feels like whatever he wants to do now. So we'll see if that is the thing he's the most in love with, I think.
And then he's going to drop a new, is it Netflix or Hulu? There's a new show he's going to be dropping soon about a detective. Then he has to write the script and shoot the Knives Out third movie. And then the editor was saying that there may be even more movies. It depends on if Netflix wants to do even more movies. So,
yeah,
as much as I love Rian Johnson, as much as I want him to do Star Wars, it's like, man, he's doing really well, and if he's happy where he's at, I'll be perfectly fine if he's just got to keep making these movies because he's already a multi-millionaire director. I mean, I'm not going to say he's more successful than any of the other Star Wars directors, but that was a hell of a deal he made with Netflix for those two movies. So yeah, maybe
time travel was a thing.
But yeah, he may come back, he may not, we'll see. But no, I'm anxious to see who this creative person will be who comes in and will be able to spend 10 years of their lives on a trilogy. Like that's what I'm looking forward to. Why don't
they're gonna hire George Lucas
to write a trilogy and give it to the director and say that the scripts don't? What is it? I still can't believe there's no movies. Okay, I'm trying to read what Liam said.
Pop it up, my dude.
Why don't they get script writers to write a trilogy and give it to a director?
And then I
think you're describing the traditional form of a movie and its process.
Well, did you see
James,
how
that's what Andor did? Andor brought in different directors, really talented directors that had stuff here and there, like Black Mirror and several different episodes of like critically acclaimed TV, and they did a fantastic job. And it's just I think Lucasfilm maybe needs to do that on the larger film scale. I think that would be really advantageous in the long run. And I kind of think that Lucasfilm is kind of in a good position to do that because it's like, okay, well, they tried the big budget directors. Now it's like time to try the creatives that have done stuff that not a lot of people have seen. They're not names, and try and maybe have like kind of like an incubator, like a development room and a team, kind of like what they did with the
Avatar.
with the books they just did for the High Republic. I mean, they had like a big group of people, and they brought them all together. Different authors came together, figured out a plan. That infamous whiteboard that had dinosaurs written on it. And that kind of leads us into to the next story, Acolyte. A lot of pictures dropped online, a lot of leaks dropped online. I don't know if you guys have seen them all, but we're not going to go into too much detail. But it seems like they're filming it in the vein that they filmed Andor in the United Kingdom, where they're using practical sets, and you can see what looks to be Jedi. And I don't think we saw any Sith, but of course we know Acolyte is all about the dark side, Sith. And Daphne Keane, she came out and she did like a little, almost like a little bit of a spoilery synopsis of what the Acolyte is. I don't know if we want to talk about that, but it seems like that's gaining momentum, even though it wasn't talked about at Celebration or Comic-Con, really, or CCXP that just happened in Brazil. I don't think they spoke about it at all, did they?
I didn't hear anything
No.
about the Acolyte. Just these pictures that have come out.
I think they will talk about all that during Celebration. I think Acolyte will be heavily talked about at Celebration. Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, which we still don't have a release date for Ahsoka, unless for some reason Ahsoka drops after Mando season 3. But
It's gonna have to,
yeah. Because what's happening with the Bad Batch is for the series drop and the mid-season finale, and then the actual finale on all those like main 3 things, they are not just dropping 1 episode, but they're dropping 2 on that day. So that, I think they did that to kind of speed up the timeline because Bad Batch gets done in March 29th. You have Jedi Survivor coming out on the 17th, and then season 3 of Mando comes out on the 1st of March. So there's a lot going out. I just saw a comment. Don't even start with me. But yeah, so I'm hoping that after that we get more of a roadmap, because we really don't know what's going to be happening until Star Wars Celebration. Like, as soon as Star Wars Celebration hits, man, like it's going to be like announcements left and right.
We hope, because sometimes they don't with Star Wars Celebration. They'll give us stuff during, but like not at Celebration, and sometimes they'll do it like right before Celebration. And so I don't know. Celebration is always a hit or miss for me with news that's coming out. So I'm anxious to see what they will announce at Celebration, and who will be there and everything.
Because I know the ones that usually happen overseas, of all the footage I've seen, that we normally don't get like big announcements like that. Because if you look at the 2015 Celebration and then you go to 2016, the main thing that came out of that was Rogue One, and I mean, the cast came out and everything for that. And then you also had them talk about Solo. Other than that, nothing really happened. Like, no big announcements happened at 2016. So if they end up going the way that, of the rumors are saying with like Kathleen Kennedy, where like they're not going to announce any new projects very far in advance, there's a chance unfortunately we might not see that much big news happen at Celebration next year. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but yeah.
Hey, I mean, even if you're wrong and they do drop a whole bunch of stuff, who's going to be reporting on it? Like us live,
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
So what else we got, David?
The other stuff that I wanted to talk about here. So I was going to ask you earlier, Colin, did you talk about CCXP at all? The Brazilian Comic-Con?
We did talk a little bit about it. There wasn't that much Star Wars news that happened because there was like, there was Mando, and then there was the trailer that dropped for the Bad Batch season 2. There's also the trailer that dropped for Indiana Jones 5, which I would love to talk about that.
That's
I'm-
Lucasfilm.
Oh
Mhm.
my goodness, I'm so excited for that. I think everyone here is, right, or well, except David, because I think David and I had a conversation and like he was but
I'm
Eh.
I'm all for it. I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Pumped.
I think David's just an anti-Harrison Ford actor kind of guy. I think that's the vibe I got from him.
David's favorite movie is 6 Days and 7 Nights. That's his favorite Harrison Ford movie.
I thought his favorite movie of all time was 16 Candles. It has nothing to do with Harrison Ford. I thought that was just his favorite movie. But no,
I've
but
never seen that.
oh wow. All right. Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, it's got this girl who.
If you-
So anyway, we'll talk about John Hughes movies later.
Yeah.
But,
if you guys haven't seen The Adventures of Young Indiana Jones, that was like pure George Lucas work, and that was like a 28 episode show, and like each episode was over an hour.
How are you streaming it?
Yeah,
so,
how are you?
So it's actually on YouTube. Like the entire like show is on YouTube. Like there's other different places to look at. You can also buy the whole series on Amazon as well. But honestly, the first couple episodes are rough, but you have to like see all of the celebrities that made appearances on the show. There was an episode where Daniel Craig was playing a German, and young Indy fights him. Like there's a whole fist fight, and I'm like, what in the world is happening? So it's crazy how many celebrities actually came on the show, and it was very sad that the show got canceled. Because the budget was very high, and near the end, the viewership was low, and they dropped one last episode, and of course, that last episode was the one where Harrison Ford shows up back as Indiana Jones. So it was very. I just got done rewatching it, but honestly, great show, guys. If you want, that vibe of George Lucas that isn't Star Wars or anything like that, go and watch that series, because that is pure George Lucas right there.
David, you can watch it because Harrison's not really in it that much. So that's great. It's good for you.
But one thing that's really good about Young Indiana Jones is that, like Colin said, that's pure George Lucas. Like that's what George Lucas always wanted to do with a show, which is each week you do something and you kind of make it educational. You kind of teach kids something, you make it fun for them. Yep. And each week it's a new adventure, it's something brand new. And of course, out of that, George Lucas began to use digital technology, digital editing. And then of course he met Rick McCallum during all of that. And then that's when the discussion started to go, I think I may want to do a Star Wars thing, because he started to see how the visual effects were starting to improve and everything. And so, yeah, Young Indiana Jones is a big deal. And it's really great to see that, and then to see the Clone Wars all these years later. And he was like, okay, I'm going to continue this type of storytelling that I've always wanted to do with something. So yeah, young Indiana Jones, and was it the Dial of Destiny, which is a great name. I'm excited for that. Lucas,
we love a good alliteration and a title.
Yeah. And so yeah, I think it's gonna be great. I'm sorry David's not that excited about it. But,
well,
David, I'm so sorry I made this about you. I'm sorry.
We'll stop talking about but yeah. What was crazy when Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark first came out? You know what the poster said? You know what the poster said? It said, from the creators of Jaws and Star Wars. Like that was the poster. Can you imagine seeing that back in the day? And you're just like, what? This has to be the greatest adventure story ever.
Right. Well, and something else that was great about Indiana Jones was that they they wanted to make a James Bond film. But the studio that owns James Bond at the time were just like, no, we have a specific blueprint and everything. So then they were like, all right, we'll make up our own character. And he's pretty much like Indiana Jones, except he's just like, he's pretty much like James Bond, but he's an archaeologist. He's got the same charisma as James Bond.
Wait a minute.
What?
Rewind a little second. What?
There's a few more things that make them a lot different.
I mean, yeah, but
In the
if you watch Young Indiana Jones, you will like he is a ladies' man. He falls in love every single episode. Like
course.
every single episode.
I think it's
But-
ironic that Daniel Craig shows up in it.
Yes. Yes.
He's like, you
So-
cannot do it, but we can hire the actor that you will inadvertently
so-
hire to do.
So back to did they drop a new trailer for Mando over at the Brazil Comic Con?
Yes, they did.
Wow.
They absolutely did. And I was about to read a little synopsis of it. So yeah, CCXP happened, which is the largest Comic-Con in the world, according to what James told me earlier. And I think I've heard that before too.
What a source!
It's the most attended like Comic Con ever, which is crazy. But
And yeah, I mean, there's totally like proof to that because everyone was there from Hollywood, and Feige was there, Marvel was there, Lucas
like a
was
vacation
kind
for
of
them.
there as a presence.
Mm.
But yeah, there is a description out there. This comes from bestmanbulletin.com. They wrote an article that says the footage begins with Din Djarin and Grogu venturing to Mandalore in an attempt to regain Din's honor after he removed his helmet during the second season of The Mandalorian. Bo-Katan Kryze sits atop a throne of Mandalore, angered and frustrated as she thinks of the Darksaber, which Djarin is the owner of. There's glimpses of Greef Karga and Peli Motto, a scrap Star Destroyer, as well as the planet that very much looks like Coruscant, though it could be Hasdian Prime or Mandalore. Several action scenes play out, including Din Djarin running away from TIE fighters. The footage ends with our beloved Grogu reaching out and using the Force against a monster.
oof.
So that was more of a teaser than a trailer because that's a very small description.
Well, footage. They showed footage to the crowd that no one had seen before, the public
Well,
hadn't seen. So
yeah, but it sounds like the footage really wasn't described. You just said you saw like a planet or two, and then you saw a fight in space, and then you saw her on the throne, and then going to Mandalore, and that was it. It sounds like a teaser more than a trailer.
Yeah.
Because I think we're getting closer, and I think they showed a 4-minute clip. Like, I mean, a whole 4-minute montage at the panel for Mando at Celebration. And I was surprised that they did. And then they showed the stuff for Ahsoka. Was there anything for Ahsoka?
I didn't hear
not that I saw.
No, okay. Interesting.
Nothing whatsoever.
Oh man, so yeah, this season of Mando is going to be a big deal because they I don't know, they have to bring everybody back. They got to put Grogu front and center. You know what I mean? Because this little guy is selling everything right now, and it just has to be bigger. Because season 2 was pretty good of Mandalorian, and I'm just they got to deliver on this season, man. It has to be good. Star Wars Theory has to like it in order for it to be a really, really good show.
Grogu's on Vera Bradley now. That means you made it. Like if you're on like premium level, like women's bags and such, not women's bags, but like I don't even know what Vera Bradley has besides bags. Are they just bags?
Make bags. What we're not talking about Vera. Okay, we're not doing this. But no, that's I'm wondering if we're gonna get another trailer. Like if we get a trailer, it's probably gonna be like in February.
Well, yeah, the rumor is Christmas Day, right?
Christmas Day.
That'd be the best Christmas gift.
Wow.
I'm just saying that'd be a great Christmas gift if Lucasfilm really does that. Because
Wait, more than figgy pudding?
Never mind. I'm not gonna get into that. But no, I really hope we do get a trailer Christmas Day. That'd be
for Mando season 3, what is like your main ambition for it? What kind of fan service would you want to see? Not saying that we should get fan service, of course, but if you were to get one thing, what would be that one thing?
So it's funny you say that because Mando for me is that now. Mando for me is the fan service.
A lot of fan service.
That's a great story. I want to see the beginnings of the Resistance. I want to see possibly a young Han Solo, a young Leia. Like for me, that would be really good because ultimately what this show is doing and they're doing a good job, which is they're getting us to the Force Awakens. They're trying to bridge that gap right now. So for me to see some of those characters, even to see the Knights of Ren show up and then Grogu fighting, that'd be pretty great. But yeah, like I was saying, to see the Knights of Ren somehow come into contact with Din Djarin would be really, really cool. And plus we could finally see them in their prime and like really kick and measure, you know what? That's something I'd want to see. So
Okay.
more of the connective tissue to the sequel trilogy, because like I said, they're leading there. And then plus dropping us some Thrawn, dropping us a little bit here of Thrawn throughout. I think that's what I want. Grogu talking? No, I don't know if I could take that. I don't know if I could take Grogu's talking.
I mean, that to me is the same thing with like Max Rebo actually talking. And the reason why I bring that up is because if you played the Lego Star Wars game, it really throws you off because you see this face, right? And then you just hear, "Hey guys, let's get ready to go to Naboo and play some music." And I'm just like, where? This is not Robot Chicken. Where did that come from? Like, I was like, what in the world is that? So I really
feel like I
hope
just
they
got
don't
on
end
like
up
the
like,
rock and roller coaster.
yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
But so Matt, what do you want to see with season 3 of Mandalorian?
I would like to first off, like in this order, I want to see Din Djarin regain his honor as a Mandalorian.
Okay.
I would like to see the conflict between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin either resolved or meet in a conflict. I would like for I would like some information, like little sprinkles of like you said with blue guy.
Thrawn.
What's his name?
Thrawn.
Thrawn. I almost said
Max
Tarkin,
Rebo.
but I was like, that's not right.
Max
No,
Rebo.
David.
no, he's dead. Leave it.
Oh, don't be that guy.
Don't go
Don't
there,
be
man.
that guy. Don't. But yeah.
You guys asked me what I wanted in season 3 Mandalorian, and I want Max Rebo on a spike.
Matt wants a gravestone of Max Rebo just somewhere random on some random planet.
Here lies the beats of Max.
The
Yeah.
beats have the
I like
beats.
that.
He dropped his last beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that? It, Matt? Was that it, or did you have another?
No, I'm kind of like open ended. I don't have a whole lot of expectations. I would like to see Grogu, not like that. Jeez, I would like to see Grogu further his training. I would like to see Grogu like extend his training. I would like to see him be more connected with the Force. I'm still holding out for Mace Windu. I know it's not gonna happen, but
There's a chance it might happen. All of you, and especially you, James, as I see you in the background, there is a chance it actually might happen. A very slim chance because Sam Jackson has been wanting to come back for a very long time. It makes sense. I could see them making it make sense of him coming
he's
back.
at that age where like he looks like a weathered version of Mace Windu. Nothing against my boy Sam, but like, you know, he's gotten a little older since the Phantom Menace and in the original, you know, the prequel trilogy. So I think that it would be cool fan service.
Did y'all ever see Pulp Fiction?
Yes.
So the scene,
No.
the scene where he's on the phone, he says a bad word, but he's like, yeah, that's all you had to say. Then he hangs up the phone.
Yeah.
I saw a meme where it was Grogu and he was meditating on the rock. And then the next picture was Mace Windu on the phone. He's like, shit, Grogu, that's all you had to say. And then you're like, go and, you know, save him and everything.
Yeah.
No, Mace Windu's dead. He's gone.
Well, if Mace is gone, so is Max.
That is what you say. What you say is true from a certain point of view. I think the old way of Mace Windu died when he got thrown out that window. I don't think it's the same, you know. I
keep pulling that string, your sweater's gonna fall apart, Colin. It's gonna fall apart. All right.
But James, you have to think about this. If the Emperor can fall into a shaft and explode and evaporate, and if Luke can get his arm chopped off and get thrown out like fall thousands of feet down, you really think a master on the Jedi Council getting his arm chopped off and getting thrown out the window, you really think that he wouldn't be able to survive that? It's Mace Windu. He was second in command to Yoda on the council.
You forgot. He got completely electrocuted. We saw
So did Luke.
We saw his skeleton.
So we saw Luke's as well, but Luke survived.
We didn't see Luke's skeleton.
If Mace were to come back, I would like to see.
We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about this.
I'm going to save this clip. I'm going to save this clip, and we will play it the day that he comes. And then I'm going to be like, James,
start the clip at 97 minutes and 32 seconds.
All right, David, what do you want to see in season 3 of Mandalorian besides Mace Windu? We don't. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of related to that. I want to see how Grogu got rescued from the Jedi Temple, and I want to see that origin. It'd be nice to see the season start off with that. It answers that question right away. It might raise more questions.
It was Luthen.
But yeah, it would be interesting to see that it was maybe it'd be a great way to bring back Mace Windu without bringing him back, showing him as the savior of Grogu somehow, some way.
Okay, him running in all disheveled with one arm, trying to get Grogu and then getting him out and dying.
Maybe that's what like finishes him
shot
off
right before he gets into the escape
I will
pod
accept
or
that
100%. Or we see someone like pick him up, walk out, they get shot. All hope is lost. All the clone troopers are coming towards
sounds really good.
Grogu.
James, you better get to writing your apology.
Someone like saves Grogu. They like get shot. They fall, and then we go to that scene that we see in the Book of Boba Fett where those 3 Jedi are defending him. The clones are closing in. Everything's about to go bad, and then Mace Windu steps up and just takes them all down, picks them up, and then he's like, "Hey, I got you. Don't worry." And then he runs out. And then that would be a great way to introduce him, of not him just coming in and just swooping in and be like, all right, I got you. It has to make sense. I just don't want them to add him to Adam.
Watch him like fly into the window from being thrown from the Senate building. And he's like, Grogu, we gotta go.
That'd be pretty.
I like it. No, I like it.
I agree though, David. Just to finally see how Grogu got out would be something really, really cool to see who did it. What else? What else you got, David?
I also want to see that dynamic, like Matt was saying, between Din Djarin and Bo-Katan, to see if she's really thinking of maybe dueling him for the Darksaber. I mean, that's kind of the big question. We see her in the celebration trailer that we saw in person. She's kind of like pondering, like, what is life? What should I do? Should I challenge for this thing, or what should happen here? Because that was like her whole kind of goal in life, and it seems like if she can't get the Darksaber, I mean, she's just not fulfilled as a Mandalorian, and
like a lost cat.
Yeah, like a lost cat, lost,
just wandering the galaxy.
But
sad puppy dog.
But eyes. Something that a lot of people just keep forgetting, which I'm not saying that you are, but that she didn't earn the Darksaber. She did not earn the Darksaber in Rebels. Sabine just gave it to her. The tradition of the way of the Darksaber is like, in like order to get it, you have to fight for it in combat. That's how Din, won it. And the whole legend and curse is that if you take the Darksaber without earning it in the proper way, then the curse will happen, and that's what happened with the Purge of Mandalore.
Yeah.
And
but wasn't there like some loophole or something where someone from Lucasfilm explained the reasonings why it was actually hers, and there was like some explanation? Anyways,
I think they were kind of making this up as they go to. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Star Wars is made up as it goes. No way.
I would love to do like a battle of wits, like Sandman style. Bo-Katan versus Din Djarin, like, who's smarter? That's it doesn't always have to be a physical battle, man. There's many ways you can earn it. That's a good point. So, yeah.
In the space battles too, I'm looking forward to that. We all know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, from what we saw in the trailer, those look incredible. I love when they push into that in the Mandalorian series. They've done
that modified N1 starfighter.
Oh my gosh, that was the best part of Book of Boba Fett. Oh my gosh, of them going through Beggar's Canyon and just going through the same area that they did. And,
Getting sweaty thinking about it.
in Phantom Menace, like that was so cool to me. And they also made it canon that was Beggar's Canyon,
Yes.
because that wasn't canon before.
And they
So-
never fixed the fence. They never fixed that fence there.
No,
which
they
iconic.
didn't. But I'm telling
They don't
you
have the
that,
budget.
that
Taxes,
was
man,
so
taxes.
wizard though. So
they didn't have
wizard.
the budget to fix the fence. But what else was that? Was that it, David, or was there something else?
No, there's way more to talk about here.
He also wants to
So-
see screws and bricks
So what else you can?
in man.
Stop.
So bricks and screws, you're very close, Matt. So,
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just
I
kidding.
guess we're doing that.
no, we're not. Excuse me. So Disney Plus had a price hike to $10.99 in the States. So it jumped up by $3. Thoughts, Colin?
I mean, I guess we didn't want to, hear what my ambitions were for Mando season.
No, we
3, but
didn't.
That's
What
fine.
do you think about Disney Plus?
God.
No, I'm just kidding, Colin. What are you expecting
me
from the
spit on my
Mandalorian
mic.
season 3?
It's like, well, you shut your damn mouth.
Yeah. No one cares about you. No.
Max Rebo.
No.
all you have.
Honestly, I want to see a couple of classic bounty hunters show up. Maybe Bosk, maybe Dengar, because we know that Dengar is in Rise of Skywalker, except he's old. He is mutated. He's barely Dengar anymore. So
Hangs out with John Williams.
yes, yeah, exactly. So we know that he's in episode 9. He makes it all the way till then. I would like to, maybe see him have a cameo in some sort. Maybe have Simon Pegg come in as Dengar. That has been a fan casting for a while, by the way. Like Simon Pegg would make a great live action Dengar
Fan
because
service.
he did voice him in the first EA Star Wars Battlefront. So I would love to see that.
EA Sports.
It's in
Sorry,
the
that
game.
just came out.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry.
no,
it just came out.
I would love to see that. I want to see. I won't get into the Mace Windu stuff again because I know James had enough. But I would love to see how Grogu gets rescued. I think it would be cool if in some way maybe they make Luthen a Jedi and that just throws everyone off because of it's. To me, there's a lot of signs that are pointing towards Luthen being part of the Jedi in some way. And then I love how my wife is just giving me like a look in the background because I said that. No, but I really think that there's a chance that Luthen was a Jedi because if you listen to some of the things that he says, like, for example, I've been in this fight since the very beginning. The very beginning was Order 66. A lot of the Jedi, were fighting, trying to survive in the very beginning of Order 66. So that's what makes sense to me. And just the way that he talks and the way that he thinks, I think that,
His walking stick, it looks like a saber hilt kind of.
there's a lot of signs pointing towards it. And then also he has a Jedi holocron and a Sith holocron. That's a very, very hard thing to get your hands on. And something that I think also that kind of makes it obvious is like hiding in plain sight like he is a very smart thing to do because they think that's the last thing a Jedi would do.
Put a hairpiece on. Yeah. That's the last thing a Jedi would do.
Wigs.
Yeah.
Mm.
I would really like to. I think that might be a possibility. I think that would be fantastic because his character also reminds me of General Ram Koda from The Force Unleashed, of just the way that he acts and his mannerisms. And there's actually a lot of Force Unleashed Easter eggs in that show. And I know it. I know, Liam. It might be too obvious that he could be a Jedi, but at the same time, I think that would be a great way to maybe boost up his character because he just gives kind of gray Jedi vibes, even though gray Jedi aren't canon anymore technically.
Whoa.
But
yeah, you can't say that here, man. Ooh, scary
take
stuff.
that up. Take that up with Pablo. But yeah. So I could definitely see them
Penguin?
introducing him like that just randomly. I mean, yeah, will that happen? Probably not. It's more of a, it's more of a pipe dream for me. but I would love to see maybe Luthen show up in some way. If it ends up being Mace Windu, I'm fine with a tour, or somehow Kit Fisto survived his, stabbing wounds, and then he comes and he saves him. Just some type of like, I would love for it to be a Jedi that we really love, that survived, because also they did Kit Fisto so dirty in that fight, because he is supposed to be one of the.
That's George Lucas's.
I know, but he was also one of the top lightsaber duelists in the whole Jedi Order, because it went Anakin Skywalker number 1 and then Kit Fisto number 2. So the fact that he got sliced up like very quick in that fight was kind of sad.
Squid.
But you did see that there was that entire fight choreographed, right?
Yes, I know, and I think we did talk about that too.
Yeah. I've seen behind the scenes, and I was like, that would have been amazing.
I know,
but
it was very
just
tragic.
Those few clips they showed of the stunt double for Palpatine fighting, I was like, wow, that would have been incredible. But anyways,
the other thing is the bridging between this to the sequels. That's what I want to see, and we pretty much got a confirmation of that, because we're gonna see Babu Frick show up. Like, that's 100% happening. We saw him in the trailer, and then we saw a bunch of his species. So yes, David, I know. Hey. And I think we might see more of the cloning process. I would love to kind of see an endgame with that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's right there too.
Because there's just a big mystery going on there that I think that it could drag on, but I want it to lead into the whole cloning process that we see in episode 9, because they have to make all that stuff in episode 9 make sense.
And they're doing a good job with it already. They're already. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah.
No. You're fine, because also at this time, you have General Hux's dad, that is still alive as well. You could definitely have the real forming of the First Order starting to happen. Maybe even have a cameo from Inferno Squad with Iden Versio. Like, all those actors, their looks were taken from the actual actors into the game. So they could definitely bring those actors in and play those characters if they wanted to. And the Inferno Squad
You're just asking for Cal Kestis now.
We don't know what his journey is. There could be a chance he could die at the end of Survivor.
Yeah,
a lot of people would be sad, but
well, here's the thing. We all saw Harrison Ford de-aged in the Indiana Jones trailer.
Beautifully.
And we all know that Luke Skywalker shows up at the end of season 2. What's to say that Han Solo doesn't show up?
They actually did hint at something big happening like that in over at the convention in Brazil, because a lot of people see it obvious being, Thrawn showing up. I could see it happening there in Ahsoka, but if it ends up being Han and Luke and Leia on screen again, that would be everything. People would flip out. People would watch it specifically.
I just thought about how expensive that is.
I bet it's gonna be expensive, but
I got lightheaded.
Done it for Harrison Ford. I mean, just take those models and bam.
Yeah. He said he saw more footage than what we did on the trailer, and he said that it was kind of weird seeing him that young, because it felt like they found that footage from back in the 80s, and they were able to.
Yeah, and they're just getting better with the technology.
Yeah. So seeing Solo, seeing Leia, and seeing Luke, but I don't think we're gonna see Luke. I think Luke is kind of done. He may be sprinkled through the Ahsoka series, but but to see Luke, to see Leia and Solo would make sense in the season 3. To see the Falcon flying next to Din Djarin would be the stuff of dreams, man. That would just be amazing to watch. So yeah, season 3 has a lot of potential, and I hope they deliver. They will. They're going to deliver. It's just
there was a recent story that actually dropped that interviewed a couple people. I think Favreau and Pedro Pascal said there's some big surprises in Mando season 3, but of course, are they not going to say that?
Yeah, they're going to say that. Of course, they're going to.
So hopefully, it's mega huge surprises, and of course, we're all kind of speculating that we're going to get Harrison Ford in there as Han Solo, maybe Leia, maybe Thrawn. I mean, Thrawn's eventual, but
Thrawn is a definite going to happen. But yeah, so season 3, and it's just a few months away too. It's not even that far away. So
Yeah.
I really hope we get an hour and a half long episode. Season 3, episode 1, like we did with season 2. Like that was amazing. I really hope we get a feature length first episode directed by Jon Favreau.
Exactly.
what they need to do is do the backstory Mandalore. But I don't know.
I would
That'd be super expensive.
I would love a flashback of like Tar
Vizsla.
Yeah, I think that would be great with Tar Vizsla, and maybe them going in some old Mandalorians during the Old Republic going into the temple and stealing the Darksaber. I think that would be really cool to see as well.
That'd be a cool thing to see.
That'd be a good opening.
That would be a great opening. That would blow people away of being like 1,000 years ago or something, and you just see the old Jedi temple in Coruscant, and then you see like a couple of lightsabers like kind of race across the screen, and you see some Mandalorians running through and like blasting them, and then like jutting out of the temple, and then you see them flee back to the planet Mandalore, and then it goes to and then it would go to present day, and then you see like Mandalore walking. You see Mando walking up the hill, and in that one shot of the trailer, and then you see like him kind of looking over the city. I think that would be great.
That'd be great. Yeah. So much potential for this third season, and it has to deliver. It has to deliver.
What?
I said, are you looking for a 10-year commitment with Lucasfilm and Star Wars?
I'm just saying. But yeah. So, anyways, Disney Plus prices, right? Yeah. All right. Cool.
Up. They went up.
I mean, it's gonna happen.
Of course, you work for Disney, then
there is inflation. Like it. Like it's gonna happen. It's like happening everywhere. It is what it is. If you want ads, get the cheaper version. If not, just pay $3 more.
And plus, these Disney Plus is paying for the shows. Like the money that we're giving to Disney Plus is going into the productions of these shows, and these shows are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think we reported the Acolyte is the most expensive Star Wars show that's being produced right now. So, which is kind of mind blowing because season 1 of Mando was insane, and season 2 of Mando was even bigger. So it was only a matter of time before this was going to happen. And yeah, $7.99, you get to watch your shows, but with ads, which shouldn't even be that bad, right? Because won't it just be like Disney stuff?
You know what I mean? Back in the day.
Like, won't it just be like Disney?
Well, you figure it's not going to be Disney stuff because they have to have an outside source.
Well, they can do like Disney. They can do like ABC shows. There's a lot of different ABC shows that
they can pump up their own
like
stuff,
National Geographic stuff, and
but they need to have some like Jeep or something. You know what I mean? Like they got to have something there to help pay for some of these bills that are
Aflac.
Yeah, Disney Plus is a non-profit. All of the proceeds go back into the company.
But yeah. So yeah, it was bound to happen. I'm actually shocked it happened so soon. I thought it was going to be at least 5 years before something like this happened.
They also did that for Netflix, right?
Netflix has been going up every
year.
It keeps going up. It just
we don't know.
That's a great question.
I'm not gonna lie. There's no news out there. They're not even talking about it. That is one of the shows that kind of is on the down low, where they're not really, talking about it, just like Rangers of the New Republic. And there was also the Droid story as well. And then the Lando show. All that stuff is not even being talked about right now. I would love to see the clip that they show to the investors at that investors call in 2020, because they did one for Lando. But we didn't see.
It wasn't like,
isn't Donald Glover still under contract?
Well, Donald Glover's not even signed yet to be Lando, so that's even
but isn't he still under contract with Amazon or no?
Well, he signed like a big deal with Amazon, like a first look deal, and he's going to produce a bunch of stuff. And yeah, he's another busy guy. Yeah, and it seems like Kathleen Kennedy announced all this without having everything set in stone, really.
Mm-hmm.
You guys watch Atlanta?
No, I do not.
I watched most of the first season. It's really, really good. Really funny.
You guys should check it out.
Yeah, my kind of humor. Yeah,
it's good stuff.
It's pretty good. Yeah,
and it's so out of the box for Donald Glover, like compared to like his work on like Community or like Solo, you're
Ooh,
like
yeah.
that version of Donald Glover that you have in your head he pushes it to the limit, and he
Oh, yeah.
also has a huge producer role on that show, and he also really well represents the culture in Atlanta. So it's
and
awesome.
plus, I remember seeing somewhere like because he's won a lot of awards. He's gotten a lot of praise, more so than people realize, and he doesn't get the recognition that some of these other celebrities are getting. Like people keep talking about, like, oh, this celebrity did this, this celebrity did that, but it's like, yeah, but he did that a couple of years ago already, and nobody even made a big deal about it. Yeah, he's insanely talented. Like it's not even fair at how talented he is as a person. Like, yeah.
I mean,
He's smart.
he's got like two Emmys and like almost like 100
Grammys.
different nominations. I'm like, this guy's all over the
Grammys,
place.
He's also a very successful stand-up comedian, a fantastic actor. Like it's crazy at how talented this one man is. Like it's not even fair, really. So of course he's got to be super busy to just say, okay, I'm going to focus now on playing Lando Calrissian for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It's like, jeez, man. But anyway,
I love Solo. I thought it was a great film. Was it necessary? Not really, but I think it delivered on some of those characters and their stories, and it was great to see kind of their origin story and how they met. It was fun.
Yeah.
Now, do I think it deserves like a more and more of it? Yes and no, because again, that first story wasn't very necessary. It didn't need to happen. I always thought of that as of like a one-shot wonder, and then boom, gone. Like that's it. I didn't think they would continue it. So if they do, awesome. If not, that's all right as well. The like main thing that I got from that was at the end with Darth Maul. I think that was the big thing for the audience, was just seeing him on screen again, and then them kind of hinting at they're going to do something, but then all they did was just did stuff in the comics, and I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because the box office return wasn't what they wanted.
Right. And
But, yeah.
I don't want to get into that because that's going to be a whole other discussion. But I would be okay if they maybe did something with like more small shorts. For example, we never really in the comics and in Legends and everything, we kind of know what happens, and kind of because of Star Wars Battlefront 2, of where Han and Chewie go back to Kashyyyk and they go and free the Wookiees there. I want to see something like that. I think that would be really, really cool, which sounds like we are going back to Kashyyyk in the Bad Batch season 2, because there were some shots in the new trailer where we actually did see that. And we also get Gungi, and somehow that might tie in. Which, by the way, the correct way to pronounce Gungi is Gungi. I hear so many people on YouTube.
It's a Gungi
that that say his name is Gungi, and I die every time. It's Gungi. It's Gungi, bro. Just say Gungi. Say it with me. Gun.
G.
Gungi.
I was getting speech lessons from Colin. Look at this guy. He's like,
yeah. So what else? Okay. What else we have?
Yeah.
Wait, does his name have a J in it, or is it Gunji? Or how's it spelled?
Look it up, man. I'm just here.
It's Star Wars. It can be called anything. So we got this from Daisy Ridley on Instagram.
Yes.
Nothing saucy happening, just a lunch visit, but now feeling so nostalgic because this was 3 years ago. So she posted older pictures of her experience with filming, and then she puts that caption. I don't think any of these pictures she posted were brand new, unless the one on the left at Lucasfilm was. I don't know, but
I like that you pointed out that Yoda isn't centered on his podium.
Yeah.
That's a little
moved around a whole bunch, or an earthquake happened. I don't know.
He gets around.
But, yeah, I thought that was super interesting to type that out. Yeah, it's in San Francisco, right? So
I didn't think about that. I was like, oh yeah.
It is really. It's really strange, and it's kind of funny because it's almost like she's telling Lucasfilm, "Hey, I'm still interested. I think the fans are still interested. They want to see more of Rey." You know what I mean? And I think it's really, I don't know. It was really weird that she posted that, like feeling nostalgic because this was 3 years ago. And who knows?
Waiting for Brooke to like pop on camera.
maybe this is legitimately just her, like she said, feeling nostalgic. You know, she did probably see it in like her time hop or whatever the hell, and was like, "Oh man, that was a lot of fun." You know what I mean? And she posted it.
Yeah.
But
But
I
at the
don't
same
know.
time,
I don't know. What do you, Colin? What do you think? Do you think it's nostalgic, or do you think she's wanting?
so ever since Ewan has been lying for the past couple of years of saying, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi," like they are making it sound like I'm knocking on Disney's door and everything. I'm just like, honestly, if like he can do it, I think Daisy Ridley can do it, and maybe she posted that to maybe see people's reactions of like, oh, would it be good for me to come back to Star Wars?
Testing the waters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And didn't
I
Adam
could see her
Driver-
doing that.
Sorry.
No, I could see her doing that, and then also I could also just see her just being like, "Hey, this was a great memory. I would love to, share it," because that's exactly what social media is to share people's experiences and their past experiences. So you're right, James. That could be something that could definitely be happening. But ever since the invention of lying came out,
The invention.
yeah, people do that a lot. So I could see her being like, yeah, I'm just going to test the waters and see how people, would feel about me maybe coming back to Star Wars, which people had a lot to say like about that. It was like, because I remember when it happened, I was scrolling on Instagram and everything. I just kept seeing other pages being like, how would you guys feel about her coming back to Star Wars? She's coming back to Star Wars. And I'm just like, off of one Instagram story, really? Wow. Wow.
I wonder if her and John Boyega had a conversation about it. Because I know John's like, I'm done with Star Wars. But like, I don't know. Those two have like a personal relationship outside of Star Wars, and they're friends. So
I would love for him to come back and maybe redeem the arc that was never fully finished in the trilogy, because to be honest, I think we got more of what a story arc was supposed to be in the holiday specials for Lego. Because if you see the holiday special, you like see him getting trained as a Jedi. You also see more of that in the summer vacation one as well. I was like, man, I feel like he got robbed, and I would love.
I think he feels that way too.
Yeah, I just want to see his story finished or maybe continued in a way to where we get some closure on Finn, because I just felt after Last Jedi, the whole story was rushed. It was completely rushed, and they just ran out of time for his character in particular, and not just him, just all the characters in the sequel trilogy. I just feel like,
do you want to see him and Rose fall in love?
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I just don't want to. I want them to finish the stories of these characters and the plots that were, kind of written out in Force Awakens, and finish it in a way that will give us closure. Because after walking out of the theater, I didn't have closure. I really didn't have a closure, especially after the whole Rey being like,
Skywalker.
Yeah, being like, and I'm all the Jedi, and then she just like kills the Emperor. So it's like, so is she the Empress because she technically killed him? And then
she's blood.
Yeah, and then on top of that, all of the Star Destroyers are just sitting there, and they're not gonna do. I mean, because someone could simply go back and rebuild it, and there are a bunch of clones like still in that temple. We don't know if all the clones got destroyed. So that it wasn't a real closure to me. I wanted actual closure for the sequel trilogy. I want it, and for the characters as well, because I didn't walk out being like, that was great. Like I had more questions than more of that, being like, oh man, like that was a sad journey, and like, all the way through. It was more like, okay, well, how about this? How about this? How about this? And that's not how you should walk out of a movie. It should be like Return of the King. You walk out of that theater, you're crying, you're like, all of these characters' journeys have mainly been answered. They're like their journeys have come to an end, and then you see Sam walking in, and then boom, done. Right?
Okay,
That was the best closure out of for all of cinematic history for me. Was Return of the King. That was the best closure.
because the book ends. I mean, the story's ended, and they were like, and Tolkien was like, "This is it." Okay, but let me ask you this question. And I know we're going really long today, but it's all good.
That's okay.
Colin, did you have any questions after Return of the Jedi?
I mean, honestly, when I was a kid, I couldn't really see them going forward with it where it would make sense. But I actually did find this out recently, and this was our character of the week, ship of the week edition for the Death Star. If you went on the original Star Tours, and you know how they go on the trench run, like on the original ride, in Legends, that was the Death Star 3. That was actually canon back in the day. They actually rebuilt it a third time, and that was the Death Star 3 of them going on the trench run on that ride. That was the old canon. So they like definitely had it planned out. I really didn't read that much into Legends, and I don't think George Lucas was like he like definitely had that plan for 7, 8, and 9, but by the time it got to the prequels, I really didn't see them going forward after that. I love how they went back and everything, and that was awesome and that was great. But going forward, I wasn't as intrigued as I was for the prequels because I just didn't know how they would be able to do the story. And then Force Awakens came out, and I was looking back at old posts like a couple of months back because it was like, what, 6 or 7 years since Force Awakens came out, something like that.
7 years.
Yeah. And I just remember looking back at a post I made in 2012, and it was just me being like very disappointed, being like, I can't believe they would continue the story, and like it just I don't want them to do it just to do it. I want it to make sense. And I remember watching Force Awakens and being like, this makes sense. This is great. And then you jump to the other two films after that, and the story was just all over the place. It wasn't a very story-driven movie. It was more of a character-driven movie, if that makes sense. And to where I think they were just throwing in stuff for certain characters, trying to please the audience when they didn't have to. That like all the stuff in Canto Bight, all of the stuff with the Emperor just randomly coming back. Like to me, it was like that stuff just. It didn't make sense, and especially all the stuff in Exegol. They made a comic after Rise of Skywalker, which I know I've talked about this, but they made a comic after Rise of Skywalker where it was between the events of Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, where Vader actually goes to the planet. He sees all of those ships under the ice, and not just that, he also sees the clones and everything that the Emperor is working on. He sees all of that. His mind was never wiped. So now they've written to another, plot hole, which is Vader knew that all the way at the end of Return of the Jedi. He could have told Luke that, but he didn't, because that's just like a huge like plot hole right there. Because again, you have all those 30 years. No one knows about that stuff at all, but Vader did, and he comes back as Anakin as a Force ghost and talks to Luke. We know that is now also canon, and he had the chance to tell him that, and he still didn't do that. So there's that. So
logic.
Yeah.
My
I don't
favorite
know.
in Star Wars.
I am all about like I'm okay if they throw stuff in, but it's got to make sense. And when I was a kid, I didn't really see them making it make sense. Like I thought that was the journey right there. Even though George Lucas had that, kind of plot of 7, 8, and 9. To me as a kid being like, I think this is it. I think there could be small adventures after, but I didn't think there was like any real good plot that would make sense to me, like to continue the characters after. I mean, I definitely read some of Legends, but I don't know. But yeah, sorry. That was a very long explanation.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Thank you. Thank you for telling us all that.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Content.
So here's my thing. Do you guys like?
Wait, you haven't told us yet?
Oh no, I haven't. No, I haven't even started, bro. No, but do you understand of where I'm coming from, or
Oh,
are you
no,
just
no,
like, oh
100%.
no, Colin's completely wrong? Like,
No, 100%. And I don't have anything to add to that because it makes sense. Although I will say though, I want to read what George Lucas had for
yeah.
Oh yeah, about that.
he was like, oh shit.
Maybe he forgot to tell him. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
One thing that I want to read is the actual 7, 8, and 9 that George Lucas had in mind, because the original 7, 8, and 9 that he had in his head back in the day changed after Empire Strikes Back. After Empire Strikes Back came out, and then he just kind of wrapped it all up. He was like, "Oh, the other is that's Luke's sister. That's Leia. It's gonna be Leia. The Emperor, he's gonna die at the end of this movie, and that's it. It's over." And so he when episode 6 came out, he finished it. He was like, "I'm done. I'll go back and tell the other ones, but I'm done." So the fact that he did have a 7, 8, and 9 that was different from his original version is interesting, and that's what I want to. I want to know what his 7, 8, and 9 was.
I think we knew.
I don't think we're ever gonna.
I mean, I think we kind of knew the plot of it because I heard the main plot was that Darth Maul was going to be the villain. Not the villain. That he was going to be the main villain of the sequel trilogy.
There you go. Yeah, see.
Yeah. But when Bob Iger saw it, he didn't like it. Which, by the way, is crazy to think about. That Bob Iger has that has all the stuff that George Lucas planned is probably just sitting in his attic somewhere. Which is just mind blowing to me because it's just like
Bob Iger's attic.
That's like history, like a stack of history that's just sitting somewhere collecting dust. But
that's how I feel about all of John Williams' office. You know, like if I could just get like one of those binders and like laminate that stuff or like put it in frames. Oh my gosh, how awesome that would be.
Yeah. But for the plan for the sequels that George Lucas had in mind, Darth Maul was supposed to be the main. He was supposed to be the main villain. Somehow somehow he survived. Him getting cut in half, which they kind of did. In Rebels and everything.
It's like our podcast.
But
cut in half.
Wait, what? Yeah, wait, what?
I am confused.
Yeah. But the idea was that he was going to be the main villain. The Emperor would not come back. The whole time during the original trilogy, Darth Maul was hiding in the unknown regions. That's the sequel term, but it would be like the different part of the galaxy that no one's really seen before. And then and then he would have came out of the shadows, and then he would have started, his empire and then his campaign and everything. But that's really the main stuff that we know about that. Other than that, we don't know. That entire plot line is collecting dust somewhere, and it's very sad to me. But I digress.
This is great.
Oh, now you digress. Colin digresses.
I think this might be the longest podcast we've ever done.
That is that's a lie, so. James. I know we've
that's
had
not true at all
podcast, bro.
I think we're about to hit 2 hours here. So I know David had more stuff, which is really
yeah, David. Sorry, go ahead.
Come on.
So
David.
back to the Daisy Ridley Instagram.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, back to Deadpool here.
So I think 100% she went back to Lucasfilm to talk to Kathleen Kennedy and all the higher ups about returning back to Star Wars. I think that's why she was there. I don't think there's any other reason for her to go back. I don't think she's close friends with anyone there. Pretty much everyone that she worked with is gone. JJ's gone. The DPs are gone. The actors are gone. I mean, the only reason for her to go back, I think, to Lucasfilm is not really to visit per se. It's really to ink a new deal. That's what my feeling is. So yeah,
I see
my 2 cents there.
I want you to be right, but part of me thinks it might not be. But I really want you to be right because I would love to see Daisy Ridley come back in Star Wars.
I think her return is eventual. I think she's come back in some form, fashion,
and even
decade.
Adam Driver said he wouldn't be opposed to.
Yeah, that was another interesting tidbit.
Huge. That one's big. I don't see Oscar Isaac coming back, and I don't see Boyega coming back either. But
honestly, I see them all coming back really because I mean, I think if it's going to be a domino effect, if it's a good, if the script is good, directors are good, if someone they haven't worked with yet, and we
If
all
the
just talked about how
cheddar is good.
Lucasfilm hires names, and if it's another director that these actors, especially, I think Adam Driver, if he wants to work with a new director that he hasn't worked with yet, even though he's worked with pretty much everyone now by this point. I mean,
You guys
you
think
never know. I
Anthony
mean, it
Daniels
could be
will come back?
Spielberg. It could be the next Spielberg or the first Spielberg Star Wars film. That's something that Spielberg hasn't done yet. Which
that would be something to see Steven Spielberg directing a Star Wars movie.
He did direct a couple of those big deleted scenes that they had for Episode 3. Like there was supposed to be a larger montage of Order 66 that he worked on, but
no, he directed all the pre-visualization for Episode 3, which I thought was amazing. That all that cool looking imagery and stuff, he's the one who's George Lucas said, hey, I want you to give me some really cool things. There's even a part in Episode 3 during the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin and the behind the scenes. George Lucas says Steven had a really cool idea, which is they're standing on the platform, the lava lands on top of it, and it melts the steel. And I was like, holy crap, that was Steven Spielberg's idea. And that image is a really cool image. And that was George Lucas was like, yeah, Steven had this idea. I think we're gonna do it. And boom, there you go. And,
Fire.
but yeah, it would be really cool to see Steven Spielberg directing a Star Wars movie. But man, he's already 75, 76 years old.
John Williams is kicking it. And he's about to hit a century.
He's done though. He said he's after Indy, he's got to stop.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like if he can do it at that age, Steven's got time. No excuses. No excuses.
But yeah, we'll see what happens in the next few months or years with Daisy Ridley. Or like I said, maybe a few months from now, we might hear some news about Daisy Ridley and Star Wars again. That would be something.
Yeah, there ends up being a show on Disney Plus. It's just called Skywalker, and we're all just like, all right, who's it about? Okay, sorry, guys. I'm sorry, man. I'm just.
Yeah, what you got?
Yeah, no. Okay, so what else do we got, David? Go shoot.
That is it for this podcast.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, there you go.
Unless you got something, Colin.
Well, I was just thinking about this. I missed Force Friday. I remember the hype that we all got in Force Friday, and then of just November, and then getting into December. I remember around this time for Rise of Skywalker, David was getting ready to fly to Michigan. And we were getting ready to go to the private screening for Rise of Skywalker, and I miss that hype. I miss seeing a Star Wars film in the theater. I mean, as I understand that, that maybe walking out of the theater was a totally different feeling of going in, but I love that feeling of going into a movie and not knowing anything about it, or like not knowing that much about it, and just being fully surprised and just watching everything and having those reactions. I love having that feeling in the movie theater with a big crowd. And I really hope that we get back into that with Star Wars, because I don't mind watching, all these different Star Wars shows on the couch and all that, but I love going to the cinema and sitting there and seeing everyone's reactions. And we get that with, movies from the MCU, and we're getting that with Avatar again on Thursday when it comes out. And that's great. But Star Wars in the theater is where it belongs. And I really hope that we get that soon, because I miss that feeling of sitting in. And not only that, it was just like at Star Wars Celebration, that of just watching that trailer with everyone on the big screen. I barely knew James at the time, but afterwards, like James and I just gave each other the biggest hug, and we were just like, yeah, let's go. And I love that feeling. I love that feeling. And I really hope that we go back to the cinema with Star Wars soon, because it's missed. it's definitely missed.
Well, let me bounce this off of you guys because you guys are a very select audience that would be able to give an input on this. Do you feel as a podcaster that you take away a little bit of the nostalgia and magic of like going into a film just because we have to report and we know all of the things that are going on in this film prior to us going in to see it? Because like I know Colin said something about going into a film with like a blind eye and not having any expectations or knowledge as to the film. But like I remember pre-podcast Matt and post-podcast Matt enjoyed going to see Star Wars films slightly differently just because I was like, I know a little bit of what's going to go on here, but I'm not everything. Do you guys feel that way?
I don't know.
Like a little bit of the surprise is taken out of it just because it's our job to report on everything Star Wars related. So
I like knowing things. Yeah, and I don't know. I like knowing things going in sometimes because, or maybe having my own theory going in, and then if it ends up being wrong, it ends up being wrong. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then if it ends up being right, get more excited because I was like, man, like I guess this was gonna happen. That's awesome. And I think that's actually this honestly has been a question that I don't think we ever really talked about, but
it's very unique to only us because like our audience members can't really compare to it on the level that we do. I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there listening that's like, I actually know more than you.
Here's a question to bounce off your question then. Why do you guys podcast? Like what makes you kind of what inspires you to podcast about Star Wars and kind of like up your knowledge about it and know more about it? Because I think it's something we never really talked about.
Well,
the reason we're here.
This is well, I think for me, we just lost David, which I don't know. David, hopefully
he really didn't want to answer my question. He really didn't.
I know David. Whenever whenever the Star Wars project's coming out, he reads everything he possibly can about production, about the leaks, about all of that. Since I was younger back in '99, there he is. He did disappear. Welcome back. So I know David reads everything he can about Star Wars, and he still has a great time when the movies come out. As for me, I like to just see who the cast is. I like to look at some of the pictures. I like to look at that, and that's all I look at before the movies really start. Yeah. And or someone like maybe some of the interviews, I'll watch some of the interviews and I get hyped about it. That level of like how excited I am, how excited I was before I started podcasting and how excited I am is still the same. Like I still will go into each of these Star Wars movies excited because I still have a lot of questions and like a lot of theories in my mind, but I don't know the full story. So I think for me being a podcaster, it really hasn't changed my perspective of Star Wars in the movie theater experience.
I'm on the same level as you, James. I feel exactly the same way because like I'm not like David where like I'm searching for all the spoilers and everything like that. Like I mean, sometimes I do. Like like for example, with all the stuff happening with Acolyte, David knew like right away. I sent him a message. I was like, "Tell me," because I just wanted to see like a couple of the first like looks and everything. But I'm not going in knowing the entire plot of every Star Wars show or film that I'm going in. Because I do love that surprise and everything, but I've been doing that ever since I was a kid. Like I would definitely do research going in because I love cinema. I love movies. I want to know, some behind the scenes stuff going into the film. So I can be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like I love that kind of stuff. So I don't think that's really changed my perspective since I started podcasting, a couple of years back. But yeah, David, how about you?
Yeah, I'd be the same even if I didn't have a podcast. I'd still be looking at the same stuff, so going into it. So there was really not a difference of how I was before or after the podcast. Now maybe more so. I know a little bit more information, but I'd probably just be reading and looking up stuff and following certain people and just kind of wanting to know the behind the scenes stuff. I love knowing the behind the scenes stuff. Even before the internet, I would watch the Discovery Channel. The Discovery Channel had this program. I forgot what it was called, but maybe James remembers it. You see that black cat from Hocus Pocus, like the behind the scenes of them controlling it.
Oh, I can't.
I think it started with an A, but anyways, that was the place where I went to go see behind the scenes stuff. Either that or Entertainment Tonight. Those are the only two places I could go as a kid, and I loved it. I wish there was more stuff for that, and now there is. As an adult, I wish I was born a lot later so I could experience all this stuff. I don't know if that would actually change me as a person, but I mean, I always say all these kids nowadays are lucky. I mean, they just get all this stuff at their fingertips, in their pockets. It's like,
and plus,
it's unbelievable to me.
Plus, now you have podcasts dedicated to a lot of these things that are coming out, and Star Wars, and for me, being a podcaster is just an excuse to talk about Star Wars with friends. Like, for me, that is
that's the other thing too.
That is, for me, the main point of being a podcaster, is that all of you are my friends, all of you are great, and we all love the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's great just to sit back and just talk about Star Wars, because for me, this is the best. This is literally the best. It's just talking about it, and it's fun. And that's why I love doing it.
I also think it's crazy, like how much our friendships have changed, like since we became a podcast as well. Because I remember going into Celebration Chicago, and David just he kept telling me, he's like, yeah, like James doesn't really know you, so like he's not 100% sure about all of us like staying in the same area. And then we go and see the Rise of Skywalker like teaser and everything, and then James and I just turn around and give each other like the biggest hug. We're just like, yeah, Rise of Skywalker, let's go. And we've just been good friends ever since, and it's just it's crazy on how great this community and this podcast like just brought all of us together. So I'm very, very thankful. I know this is very late up from Thanksgiving, but I'm very thankful for all of you.
I opened up a very nostalgic conversation for us all. I'm glad that we could share these moments.
And one thing I will say is I picked up Matt from the airport here in California.
Yeah,
and that's
thank you very much for that.
That is the first time I've seen Matt in person, talk to Matt. I see Matt. I'm like, oh, he's a lot taller than I was expecting him to be. He gets in the car, and he and I just start talking, and we, as if we have been friends, which we have been, but there was nothing weird. There was nothing like, oh, hey, we just started talking, and then it was like, oh, this guy's my friend. He's a good friend of mine already.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we've physically seen each other and everything. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It's like if you were to meet your pen pal, except for like we're podcast pals. Ooh, I want t-shirts to say podcast pals. Let's get it.
It's like, and on the back it says it's like a pen pal, but a podcast. It like over explains what it is.
Yeah. It's like, man, now I understand what that is. But
Matt, that was an interesting way to close off the podcast, was to talk about that.
I'm glad that we could discuss this openly, and I just wanted to get your guys' take on it, because I've never asked about it, and your guys' perspective is very unique, considering our audience can't exactly compare, because they're not all of them are podcasters, so we see a lot more content and material than they do some of the times. So I just wanted to see what you guys had to say about that.
So thank you. If you're still listening, thank you so much.
Yeah, if you're still here,
thank you so much.
I'm
my
so
podcast
proud
pal.
of you. Yeah,
you're my podcast pal. Yeah.
But I guess that's it for the day, right, David? Or
sure.
No, he's got one.
Unless Colin has something else.
And now our 3-hour review on why Max Rebo is still alive.
Now Colin and I debate The Last Jedi the next 5 hours.
I mean, well, so actually, that's actually something I was thinking about, James. I think we should do that for. I think we should have a debate on Patreon. I think people would be interested in that, because people have been listening to our banter for years, but honestly, if we actually sit down and talk about it seriously, to where maybe you understand my point of view and I understand your point of view, I think that would be very interesting. But yeah, go on Patreon. We're on Patreon. Go on YouTube. David, make up your mind. You're like jumping back and forth between the links. If you go on Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Podcast, we're on there. We have been doing the character of the week every week. It's been a lot of fun doing that. We're also on TikTok, Star Wars Stuff Podcast on there. Great stuff, funny. We also have our own email. Oh, slow down, David. Slow down. We are also on Facebook, Star Wars Stuff Group and Star Wars Podcast page. And if you're going to Apple Podcasts or anywhere where there's reviews, please give us your honest review. Even if it's all about David, that's fine. Go ahead.
Most of them all, apparently.
Yes, which that is on. That's not just a joke. There's a serious thing. Like,
Hey, we like David here, so we're cool.
Good to hear.
yeah.
And the more ratings, like if you go on Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating, the higher up we will get to where we will. Oh, I think we just we will beat our nemesis in the ratings.
we're not naming names here because we're all podcast pals.
We don't have a nemesis. I don't know where that came from, but we don't have a nemesis.
But no, please do give us a 5-star rating if you want to. But we would really appreciate it on Apple Podcasts. Just
Yeah,
saying.
we really want you to.
But yes, thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back next week or this week sometime with another awesome topic.
Yes.
So
Arigato.
all right. May the force be with you.
And also with you.
Pew, 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 pew.
I love you.